entering high school, one of my favorite subjects was physics. But unfortunately, I had to sacrifice something to take that class: my knowledge and my stress levels. I mean, AP Physics 1 was by far the hardest classes I've ever taken. I mean, seriously, when did just standing here on my own 2 feet involve the force times the gravity, which somehow on Earth is 9.8? But despite the difficulty of learning all of these complex topics, I managed to pass the class with a good grade. And it was only because I had gone through difficulty where I had the motivation to overcome the struggles and become the physics person that I am today. But that's exactly what I thought about when I received today's quote. If we had no winter, the spring would not be so pleasant. If we did not sometimes face adversity, prosperity would not be so welcome. Because just like how I had to go through my struggles to get better at physics, we as human beings have to go through our own weathers, our own storm, and our own adversity to become the successful people that we aspire to be. And so, let's look today at 3 people who dealt with their own adversity: Andoni Schultz, Jimmy Butler, and Bethany Hamilton. But eventually, not only did they achieve their dreams, but they also showed the resilience and amazing traits that they had as characters. Now, I mentioned previously how much a struggle I had during my high school career. Well, someone who struggled just as much was Andoni Schultz. Because Andoni Schultz not only had to endure with difficult classes like AP Physics 1, but he also was diagnosed with brain cancer, which made it not only difficult for him to understand the school content, but it also was hard for him to even get his work done and turn it in on time. But though the winter had the most severe storms, though he had the most difficulties that many students can even imagine, he still persevered and was willing to spend the hours and hours of extra time needed to see the spring, to see himself be successful. And today, he is headed off to Notre Dame University, which is a top 20 school in the US. But had he not went through his adversity, not only would he have achieved his dream, but he also perhaps wouldn't have realized the perseverance, the strength, and the mental strength that he had as a person. Now, speaking of great mentalities, someone that we can look towards with a great mentality was Jimmy Butler. This came from one of the most traumatic moments of his life, when his mother at the age of 13 told him, "I don't like the look of you, you have to go." Though Jimmy Butler is someone who we know as one of the greatest basketball players in the NBA today, this did not seem possible at all. With his mother kicking him out of his house and leaving him with no resources that we as humans are grateful to have. But luckily, Jimmy Butler showed resilience. He was willing to overcome his adversity. And eventually, even though he didn't have the resources that he needed, he still found ways to practice and sharpen up his game, whether that be borrowing shelter from his friends or even finding the local park to play. But he did everything in his power to achieve his dream through his own storms and discomfort. Today, he's in the National Basketball Association, making max contracts, and being an NBA All-Star. Not only has he provided himself the well-being that he's always needed, but he has showed us specifically that if it's not for our own adversity, not only does not going through difficulty motivate us to achieve our dreams, but difficulty allows us to see the strength and just how strong we are as human beings. Lastly, we can look towards the example of Bethany Hamilton, whose motivation and adversity was just as strong as the last 2 people. Because Bethany Hamilton's difficulty came when a great white shark bit her arm off. Now, being somebody who had a dream of professional surfing, this seemed absolutely impossible. But despite the storm in the winter that she was dealing with, her passion for surfing allowed her to see the spring. She did everything she could to keep her dream of professional surfing alive, even if it meant training herself to balance on the surfboard with one arm. And thanks to the adversity that she dealt with, not only was she willing to take the discomfort of balancing on the surfboard with one arm to achieve her long-time dream, but she also was able to see for herself how just strong her passion for surfing was. A passion that not only the most difficult obstacles could counter. And she showed us all as she has now placed first in the entire country for a whole year. And so, when we analyze today's quote, whether if we are in the NBA, whether if we're struggling in school, or whether if our bodies tell us we're not up for the challenge, we all have the ability to persevere and become the people we're meant to be. Which is why the next time we do something, though there could be a force applied in our direction, as long as we continue accelerating, the vector is always pointed in the positive direction. Thank you.